على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. The last thing we did is the understanding the injustice of shirk. Understanding the injustice of shirk. That's what we did, right? We looked at that from the meaning of Ubudiyya and then understanding the injustice of shirk. And we explained last time. Now, if we remember this drawing, which is what we know, that to have an example, is the system is like a tree, right? As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned. Of course, like it has its fruit, so it's not about the growing, it's about the system, right? Right. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the example, which I will give it to you, which will be better for you to understand. In Surah Ibrahim, here, Surah Ibrahim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that He gave the parable of the right word, here, verse 24. Have you not considered how Allah set forth the parable of a good word being like a good tree? The root is firm and whose branches are in heaven. So it brings forth its fruit at all times by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's the example from the Quran. So if they have this, it's like this is the system. Like the system of the universe, it really will be in well-being like a tree where nourished and given its fruit. Right? Right. Now, what is the nourishment of this tree? The nourishment of the tree is the system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because the system of Allah is like that manual. When you buy a device, always they sell you, you have the manual how to use it. So how to keep this tree, maintain this tree, and give it a life and get the benefit of its fruit? It requires nourishment. This tree requires water, right? Subhanallah. Water plus, the way how to treat it, how to take care of it. The water is the revelation. And the revelation have all the details of how to treat this tree, to give it, not only alive, but giving you all the benefit of a tree. The system of Allah is based on one crucial essence, which is the oneness of Allah. Oneness of Allah, which means that there is no God worthy of worship except Allah. Then the system that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives. So the only nourishment that will give life and allow to the tree, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned here, to have its full nutrition, is going to be the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you see, like its branch is so high, touching almost the seed so high. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala touching the heaven. And the fruits are given constantly fruits. That's why the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he gave the example of the believer as the palm tree. Strong, tall, and have its sweet fruit, which are the dates. Now, what the shirk will do? The shirk is like, instead of giving the nourishment for the tree, water, you put any other liquid. For example, putting fuel. This is a liquid, looks like water. So what is going to happen to this tree? It was, for example, this size, then It's going to become this size and then goes down to death. That's what is going to happen to the tree, because the nourishment is not right. Which is mean the shirk is to nourish the system with other than the way of Allah, which it causes corruption. That's the meaning of the injustice of the shirk. What gives you life is to drink water. Someone say, no, it's forbidden for you to drink water. There's only fuel. So when we say the shirk, associating a partner with God in worship or in living someone's life, in treating and dealing with the creation around us, that is the biggest and highest injustice. Why? Because when you are infiltrating or using any other type of system, you are killing all the creation around you. It's like instead of giving life by injecting, the right medication, by giving the right nourishment, you are giving the person the totally different thing that is, his body is not going to accept it. So you're going to have the side effects and things, and then the person must die, and still they start trying to diagnose what the problem he has. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala determined for us the nourishment, the medication, and He called it guidance, He called it light, He called it soul. Allah called the revelation soul, ruh. And this is just a reminder of what we said, the understanding of the injustice of the shirk. And if you remember, we took the example of the money, which is here, which is the drawing that we had here. So the money, we said, money or power, the objective will be profit, so the action will be like going to turn upside down. Values, virtues, morals, going to turn upside down. So when you put in a system people that abide to the system, so you're going to spread hatred, envy, cheating, injustice, oppression, stealing, because no one in the system, when everyone is looking forward to make more money, to make profit, he's going to care about the poor. No one is going to care about it. So that poor, in a system, no one is reminding him, no one is taking care of him, he finds himself where in the street, trying to fight for his, portion of provision. Nobody is going to give it to him. He's going to take it by force. You get to steal. Then you get to the system like of killing things, crimes. Now the problem, it might be this one that when he stole, he has right in the beginning. Say, why did you steal? He said, because I didn't have food. If you didn't have food, if you're going to steal, you're going to steal a piece of bread. You're not going to steal a whole bank. Now the thing, when when he finds himself forced to steal a piece of bread, then the second time he finds it easy. Why you don't need to work? Let's steal. So then looking at maximizing the profit that everyone is running for, he has another way, like easier, through criminal. So he becomes like, the essence of mafia and things. The system. All of that because what type of values you started with into the system, what type of nourishment you are feeding the system. And if it's not the way of Allah, He's going to lead to this corruption. It's very easy. Inshallah, after this, I will invite you to go to the textbook that we had, and those which go to present what we want to do next, which is this one here. The Quranic perspective in presenting Tawheed and Shirk. We want to go through the Quran because we want to study it the way that we are presenting, We don't want a study to be really like dissociated or not part of our life. We don't want it to make like an academic learning, to have an information to just memorize and to write it down when someone has an exam. No. We want things to understand, to help us as a believer and following the way of Allah and Islam, help us how to live our life. So let's look at the Quran that every believer he's reading is close to him, he recited in the Salat, to see what are the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about shirk. Study and reflection of verses related to Tawheed, related to shirk, and related to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala attribute, and then we'll get to the types of Tawheed after all this, inshallah. So we have the book that I sent, which is the book, the textbook of Tawheed, which is here. And in the last, I think, in the last of the book, in the end of the book, if you remember, I don't know how to go through it, that there's those ayat, right? If you have it, please, I will come back to this one. You have the ayat, right? No. So I'm going to put it here to not hurt your eyes by scrolling. Yeah, there it is. Here. This one. The first ayah in the study. وإذ قال لقمان لابنه وهو يعظه يا بني لا تشرك بالله إن الشرك لظلم عظيم. You see the injustice, the shirk is an injustice. Here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is narrating for us Luqman, a righteous servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some scholars, they say he's a prophet, but he's a very great, righteous, wise servant of Allah. Behold, he is saying to his child, to his son in this case, by way of instruction, and he's reminding him the way. So this is the tarbiyah, this is the education. He said, قال, oh my son, join, لا تشرك بالله. يا بني لا do not associate in worship with Allah anymore. Do not join in worship other with Allah. Now he said, إن الشرك. Now look subhanallah how he introduced it to his child, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's confirming for us as a way of learning and knowing our creed. قال إن الشرك لظلم عظيم. For false worship is indeed the highest wrongdoing. In the other, as you see in the other translation, he said, قال is grievous iniquity. And it is, الظلم is the injustice. الظلم is transgression. الظلم is the most evil thing. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called in this ayah associating and partner with him in the highest degree of injustice. And we already explained. So now when you read this ayah, you know the worst of the action is the shirk. So the shirk, again, remind ourselves, it's not to, like the people of Quraysh, they have an idol and they prostrate to it only. No, it's not that. It's really corrupting the whole universe. That's the shirk. Because that action, you are, let's say, injecting in the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I think that the creation is not going to accept it. It's going to reject it. And by rejecting it, it's like you poison it. And by poisoning it, you are causing its corruption. So you're making the biggest injustice in the universe. And all what we see today, subhanAllah, from corruption and from all what happened, from mischief you see in the land and the sea, it is a result of the hand of human beings. And many people, subhanAllah, ignorant, they always say this is why God is doing this for us. God only sends mercy. It is the human beings who are, presenting all the corruption to themselves. Because of the greed, because of selfishness, because of all that type of things. Because believe what is calling? Calling to balance, calling to rahmah, to mercy, calling to sharing. That is the belief. Now, look, Yusuf alayhi salam in this ayah. So you have, all of you have this, right? We sent this. Yusuf alayhi salam in Surah 12, ayah 38. Joseph, he was in the prison. And two prisoners, they came to Yusuf alayhi salam. They asked him to give them the interpretation of a dream that they saw. Now, why these two prisoners, they came to Yusuf alayhi salam? They said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He told us in the Quran, قالوا إِنَّا لَنَرَاكَ مِنَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. We've been here around you, we saw you in the cell, you are a good doer. So they approach him not knowing who is Yusuf, and not know that he's a messenger, but the way how he behaved, his moral, his value, his how great he is in respecting others, that's how they loved him. So they came to him from anybody else. Can you give us the interpretation of this dream? So Yusuf alayhi salam told them, I will tell you, sit quiet. He made them feel comfortable. He said, before your food you'll come, I will be already gave you the interpretation. Now, look how Yusuf alayhi salam smart, and he's a prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course he's. But the way how he used that situation to call to the way of Allah. So why he's calling to the way of Allah? Because he wants to save them. So being in the prison, it doesn't mean it's a punishment. Because Yusuf is in the prison. And later on he realized that it was good for him to be in the prison. Because he learned a lot of things. So the worst of the thing, the worst of the injustice, when someone doesn't know his own God. So when they were eager to listen from Yusuf alayhi salam, their interpretation of their dream, because their interpretation of the dream, it was something very strange what they saw. Which we can see it here, This is Surah Yusuf, and this is the story here. Now, وَدَخَلَ مَعَهُ السِّجْنَ فَتَيَانِ, and two youth entered the prison with him. One of them said, I saw myself pressing wine, and the other said, I saw myself carrying bread on my head, of which birds ate. Inform us of its interpretation. Surely we see you to be of the doers of good. And this is one very important thing, because it's more important, inshallah, when we're going through this ayat, also to extract other lessons to help us. Now, being Muslim, being believer, being someone who's celebrating the Tawheed, this need to be seen in his behavior before he speaks. This is example of this. So the action comes before the speech. So when someone acts, so his action need to be conformed to the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, then he said, look, Yusuf alayhi salam, the way he make them to be very comfortable and to gain their hearts so they can listen to him attentively. Because in the interpretation of the dream, one of them is going to be executed. So if you tell him, you is going to be executed, imagine the reaction of someone getting such a bad news. So Yusuf alayhi salam, he said, قال لا يأتيكما طعام ترزقانه إلا نبأتكما بتأويله قبل أن يأتيكم. He said, before even you get your food, I will have already gave you the interpretation. That's it. So it's like there's an introduction of what I'm going to tell you. Because I'm going to tell you the news, you're not going to know the foundation of it. But everything has a structure, everything has a foundation, even the interpretation of the dream. Now look what he said, subhanallah. Look the modesty of Yusuf. All this characteristic of a muwahhid billah. قال, enter before it comes to you, this is of what my Lord has taught me. This is the modesty. This is what Allah has taught me. I get it from the book, it's not me. Modesty and being humble, one thing. Surely I have forsaken the religion of a people who do not believe in Allah, and they are deniers of the hereafter. Now, the Yusuf alayhi salam position in the prison, he's running with to show him that his position there in the prison because of the love that he has to his religion. Because Yusuf alayhi salam, he had the opportunity to be in the castle and to be like one of the highest if he just fulfilled the wish of the wife of Al-Aziz. But why he declined it? Because he fears Allah. And fearing Allah in declining such sin, it is the foundation. What is the Tawheed of Allah? Now he explained to them that his position and his staying in the prison because of something so dear to him, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. قال واتبعت ملة آبائي. Look. So قال that وإني تركت, I have تركت, so I have forsaken. In a way, I am the one who accepted to be in the prison. Why? For the sake of Allah, to not fall into the nest of shaitan. قال واتبعت ملة آبائي إبراهيم وإسحاق ويعقوب. And I followed the way of my fathers Ibrahim وإسحاق ويعقوب. What is the way of his father? Is لا إله إلا الله. That's the way. Now this ayat in the Quran to help us understand one crucial thing, important, that La ilaha illallah, there is no God except Allah, is not only statement, it's a whole life, behavior, etiquette, moral. Now all what you see from Yusuf is La ilaha illallah. That's the behavior of someone who has La ilaha illallah to be his essence, to be his guide, to be his destination. Look what he said. Now he's going to confirm what I was saying. قال ما كان لنا أن نشرك بالله, and never could we attribute any partner whatever to Allah. Now, not associating any partner with Allah, it's not someone's smartness or skills to get to it. Look how Yusuf humbled to teach us a great lesson, that it is a gift from Allah to be that way. قال ذلك من فضل الله علينا. That comes of the grace of Allah to us and to mankind. Yet most men are not grateful. This is by Allah's grace upon us and on mankind, but most people do not give thanks. Which means in this ayah, the best gift that Allah provides you is to not be in the nest of shirk. So when someone is a Muslim and believer or muwahhid, he said, Alhamdulillah that I'm saying La ilaha illallah, and Alhamdulillah that I'm not associating any partner with Allah. Because you have to contain them from both sides. There's no God but Allah, but in the same time, I will not do anything to disturb or to ruin or to get any defection in the way that you're doing by the way of La ilaha illallah. And this ayah is amazing in a way to show how Yusuf alayhi salam is so humble and presenting the non-shirk as the greatest gift that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed on him, and he's saying on the whole mankind. And look how he introduced it. مَا كَانَ لَنَا. It wasn't for us to think, to conceive, to have in our mind that we can associate any partner with Allah. And that statement that he said, it is the gift of Allah to keep them away from such injustice. Now you see how the Quran is presenting? So we don't say like only God to be worshipped, that's a fact. But how to implement it? How to be grateful to that action that you do, to the way that you live. Then you see the life of a believer gifted to not be in the shirk. He need to have a role model of Yusuf alayhi salam, to be humble, to be known by his behavior, and to be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he doesn't make any shirk or doesn't associate any partner with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now he continued, Yusuf alayhi salam. قال يا صاحبي السجن. O my companion, two mates of the prison. He asked them a question. أأرباب متفرقون خير أم الله الواحد القهار? Simple question. Now, come to the logic. Common sense. Are many lords differing among themselves better, or the one Allah? Well, if you have the God of the sun and the God of the storm and the God of the fruit and the God of the moon and the God of this, and everyone has a God, when you are in a situation of conflict, who you want to call? So it's like in very simple way. And this is, subhanAllah, to build the belief in the heart of his mates, so he can tell them the interpretation of the dream. So whatever interpretation is going to come is going to be something that they accepted with patience and joy. Why? Because he's going to give them all joy and happiness in this teaching. أرباب متفرقون خير أم الله الواحد القهار أم الله الواحد القهار ما تعبدون. Look, قال ما تعبدون من دونه إلا أسماء سميتموها أنتم وآباؤكم. Yusuf here is introducing for us is great fact and meaning that we need to learn. All the gods worshipped beside Allah are names, no truth, no reality behind it. Understand the concept? It's a name. For example, you call a name, and people they worship the name. Behind that name there is no reality, there is no truth. So when people they say God, and they give it a name, this God, what everything as worshipping and abiding and prostrating to this God, is what themselves they invented to be away. Well, so look Yusuf what he said. قال إن تعبدون قال تعبدون إلا أسماء, names. Someone, for example, one of the Arabic names, someone is named Kareem. Kareem. Let's write it like this. Different way to What is the meaning of Kareem in the language? Huh? Generous. Is everyone called Kareem is generous? No. So it's a name, but it's not carrying the reality of the name, the characteristic of the name, the weight of the name. So someone, for example, will have someone the right to ask, for example, help from someone, his name Kareem. He will look at the, at the list of addresses and say, Kareem, Kareem. Everyone, Kareem, he call him, can you please help me? Say, why you call me? And I say, you are generous. I said, no, my name is generous, but I'm not. Which he would not say it. So this is a name. He's not carrying the meaning of the name, first. Now, the other thing, that the name doesn't have reality. It's only name, abstract. So when you have a name, abstract, nothing behind it, like a name, there's no reality. There's no reality behind it. And the people who they worship, the people who worship this, okay, these people who worshiping this name, these people, they have to make the way. They invent the way. Then they invent the way to make it how to worship. Because that name is not going to speak to them. It's only a name. So how are they going to worship? There's no book. There's no revelation. So the people themselves, they go on to make this constitution. Now, who among the people they go on to make it? The poor, they don't have nothing to do. So those leaders, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls them al-mala'. Al-mala'. Those always who oppose to the prophets, are they everybody? No. They are al-mala'. Who's al-mala'? The leaders. Why the leaders? Because they have a power to have everyone serving them, to press them under them. And those who put the constitution, the way of life, to serve their interests and to have the whole mass submitting to that name. So everyone is working in the name that is empty, but they serving the leaders. That's why every type of this leader, they hate anyone who speaks the truth. Because anyone who speaks the truth is going to threat to their power. Give you an example. For example, there's a lot of examples in the Quran. Let's give you the example of Al-Ahqaf, Surah Al-Ahqaf. Surah Al-Ahqaf, we have the people of Ad, and the prophet that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent to Ad is Hud alayhi salam. Is Hud. The call of Hud alayhi salam is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. Well, but this example only given us the worship of Allah and how He answered them gently and kindly, but yet they denied Him. But there's the story actually of Salih with Thamud, and see what they did, which is, I think, in the Surah in Surah Al-A'raf, there's Zufar is Fir'aun, Ashura, Fussilat. to Surah Al-Araf. This is Fir'aun, a long story. And then we have, here it is. There's Shu'aib. Here. This is the story, for example, there's many story of Salih. وَإِلَى ثَمُودَ أَخَاهُمْ صَالِحًا. And to Thamud, the people of Thamud, their brother Salih. And look in the Quran, he always called the Prophet their brother. Because the brotherhood into that family of tribe and the brotherhood in humankind, even though they are disbelievers, so he's their brother. Salih. He said, قال اعبدوا الله, oh my people, serve Allah, you have no God other than Him. Well, clear proof indeed has come to you from your Lord. This is as Allah has she camel for you a sign. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the big camel, a giant camel, as a proof to them, as a miracle. قال, a sign, therefore leave her alone to pasture on Allah's earth and do not touch her with any harm, otherwise painful chastisement will overtake you. Wow. So this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala miracle to them, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Salih, he told them, leave the naqa alone, this she camel. The she camel will provide you the milk of a whole town, with one condition, that the she camel will drink one day and use the water the other day. So it's simple. So the benefit of the she camel on the whole town is great. The whole town, they will have the camel comes in the middle of the town and everyone get his milk. Not only what he need, more. So the poor is so happy here. So who's not gonna be happy? The leader who are rich and governing. Why? Because they think it's like they losing power. And he remind them with the gift of Allah. قال, remember when he made you successors after Ad and settled you in the land, you make mentions on its plain and houses in the mountains. Remember therefore Allah's benefit and do not act corruptly in the land, making mischief. So this is, subhanAllah, the way of the truth. Now look, subhanAllah, what they say. The chief of those who behaved proudly among his people said to those who were considered weak, which is mean who followed Salah? The weak ones. Why? Because they don't have any interest to defend. They want to enjoy themselves, they want happiness. Salah came to them to the truth, it opened their heart, they ran to him. The other, they cannot accept it. Why? Because this new system is going to break their system. They build the whole system to benefit themselves, to have people be serving them, to have people be slave to them. So, in a way of arrogance, they say to the wicked one, for those who accepted belief, who believed from among them, do you know that Salih is sent by his Lord? So they are mocking. They said, surely we are believers in what he has been sent with. Look what they said. قَالَ الَّذِينَ اسْتَكْبَرُوا. Those who were arrogant, they said, surely we are deniers of what you believe in. So always there's one group. Always there's only one group. قال فعقروا الناقة. فعقروا الناقة. What they did, subhanallah. What the whole problem? Is not the she-camel that is giving you all the food. It's not a mercy from Allah. But it's this she-camel is annoying the whole leaders. Why? Because it's hurting their power. So how to get rid of it? Kill the she-camel. فعقروا الناقة وعتوا عن أمر ربهم. So sometimes when you see like killing the she camel, say how subhanAllah killing the she camel can destroy Allah destroy the whole town. It's about this system that we're talking about. It is their denial, it is their arrogance, it is their, the way how they fight the rahmah of Allah. Allah wants to shower His servant with mercy, then they want to stop it with all price. وقالوا يا صالح يا صالح ائتنا بما تعدنا إن كنت من المرسلين. Now is like challenge. Salih, bring the punishment that you are threatening us with, if you are truly one of the messenger of God. And look what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala قال فأخذتهم الرجفة فأصبحوا في دارهم جاثمين. Then the earthquake overtook them, so they became what as you see there. SubhanAllah. Now, that's what we're saying, that the system, when you have only one name, so the name make those people who enslaving other people to make the way to have everyone submit to it in the name of a God that doesn't exist. Which is a name? Now come back to Yusuf alayhi salam. Are thy Lord better or Allah, the one Almighty? Do not serve beside Him. And then Allah, look what He said. قال يا صاحب ما تعبدون من دون إلا أسماء سميتم أنتم وآباؤكم ما أنزل الله بها من سلطان إن الحكم إلا لله. إن الحكم إلا لله. What it means in الحكم إلا لله? Allah has not sent down any authority for that. Judgment is only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The judgment is only Allah's. He has commanded that you shall not serve aught but Him. This is the right religion, but most people do not know. This is the right religion. So this concept of names, inshallah, is very important, as to understand anything worshipped other than Allah is introducing to the universe a system of life that is based, like invented, based on all winds. Doesn't have any foundation of the truth. Doesn't have anything. It's only to satisfy the interest and to defend the interest of a few small group of people. That Allah, all along the Quran, called them al-mala. Those who are fighting the Prophet, those who are mocking the Prophet, those who are plotting against the Prophet. And this is one of the perspectives that we wanted to understand when we go back to the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I will give you the salat is 30. 5 minutes inshallah and we'll come back. If you have inshallah. 5 minutes and we'll come back. A break, yes. 5 minutes.
Which the Surah Al-Mu'minun ayat 7 itu? Bisa remind me? Pasal Surah Al-Mu'minun ayat 7.
والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Another ayah for the story of Salih with his people, Thamud. And as you read in 45 and 46 and the ayat that follows, to see this group that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this particular surah, he went into more detail. He said, look how Salih is calling them to the way of Allah, O my people, why do you seek to hasten on the evil before the good? Why do you not ask forgiveness of Allah so that you may be dealt with mercy? Now, look what they said. I mean, they always bring things that make people scared. So they was accusing Saleh, he's like, he's ill omen, or, he's like touched by a spell, evil spell. And they saying, we have met with Iraq on account of you and on account of those with you. So it's like to be like, really to push them to be outcast from the society. They are the bad people. And this is the way of their media, like they do it in nowadays. So look, this is the media here. We have met with Iraq on account of you and on account of those with you. So everyone who's followed you like you. So it's like you are touched by a spell. Your presence here in our society is going to ruin everybody, is going to contaminate us. So people, we need to get rid of them. And look what he said. قال وكان في المدينة قالوا الطير قال وكان في المدينة 9 رهط يفسدون في الأرض ولا يصلحون. And there were in the city 9 persons. So exactly Allah gave us exactly how many there were. So this is the highest committee of mischief, those leaders who holding the whole power in their hand. There were 9. قال who made mischief in the land and did not act right. Look, in their plot secretly, only Allah knows about them. قالوا تقاسموا بالله, swear to each other by Allah. So they use Allah in this swearing. To do what? That we will certainly make a sudden attack on him and his family by night. Which is mean, they're going to kill him. They want you to, by reading this ayat, just have your mind to look, in the history and in the events around us, in the near past, and and subhanallah. So he needs to be killed. قالوا attack on him and his family by night. Then we will say to his family, his relatives. This is the media. We did not witness the destruction of his family, and we are most surely truthful. So all of them together, all of them, they have one news to spread all around, that they're going to kill him and his family. So they didn't care about his family, children. Why? Because their interest is that. And this is, subhanallah, to see the effect of the shirk. Killing becomes normal, crimes becomes normal. Why? Because the God is being worshipped here is the power, is the leadership, is the interest that they have. Look, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and this is a law that Allah set among the humankind. This is the law of universe. And they planned the plan, and we planned the plan. Why they perceive not? Why they didn't? Then see how was the end of their plan, that we destroyed them and their people, all of them. Now those wicked ones that they call wicked, look, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the end. Now, so those are their houses falling down because they were unjust. Most surely there is a sign in this for people who know. Now if I show you the picture of the houses, you'll be amazed. Deserted houses. You want to see them?
Sure.
Just give me a second. I need to find out. Yeah, Allah. It's good. This is one of the good things of the technology. Alhamdulillah. That is everything. Just put images. Do you have anything? No patient, yes. You have it now?
Yeah.
These are the city of Salah, Thamud. Here. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said, Allah give you this gift, this that you made out of the mountain homes. This is one for look this one. So this is the people of Thamud. Look how the mountain they made it into. This is what Salah he told them. Allah gives you this, you make and you building the mountain, you make them homes.
Was Thamud with the giants or regular size?
This is Salah.
Huh?
I'm not talking about giants and cold.
No, I guess meant the question.
No, I'm telling you, this is the facts from the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to see. قَالْ فَتِلْكَ مَسَاكِنُهُمْ. So if you go back to this ayah, after seeing this, look what Allah said in the ayah 52. So those are their homes falling down because they were unjust. So today when you see them, you read this ayah. So Allah is speaking to us. Now such were their houses. It's like they exist, and they found out about them. This is the Mada'in of Salah, the city of Nabi, the Prophet of Allah Salah. And the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, قال وأنجينا 52, Luke 53, وأنجينا الذين آمنوا وكانوا يتقون. And we delivered and we saved those who believed and practiced righteousness. Which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is setting for you a way. This is the way of shirk and this is the way of the oneness. Okay, we'll continue with the next ayah. This ayah in the end, the last ayah in Surah Al-Isra. The last ayah in Surah Al-Isra, we'll see it here with Allah Ta'ala, and Surah Al-Isra is here. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَقُلِ الْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ الذي لم يتخذ ولدا ولم يكن له شريك في الملك ولم يكن له ولي من الذل وكبره تكبيرا. You see Yusuf alayhi salam, what he said this is from the bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He bestowed on us and on the whole mankind, but most people are not grateful. So if someone is saying Alhamdulillah for the food he is eating, he needs to multiply with an infinite multiplication of infinite numbers, the gratefulness to Allah on the fact that He's a believer, that He's not a mushrik. And here in this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say Alhamdulillah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not taken a son. Can you see? So when someone say God has a son, is insult to Allah. When you say Allah doesn't have a son, not only you stated Allah, you say Alhamdulillah that Allah doesn't have a son. طيب. When you say Alhamdulillah, so everything comes from Allah is a blessing. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't have a son, is a blessing on the humankind, on His servant. It's the biggest rahmah, because when you have a son, it's become shirk, it breaks the whole system. So what if Allah has a son? There will not be life on earth. There will not be life on earth. Life ceased to exist. Because you cannot have two gods. It's either the father is going to prevail or the son. It's a question of power. And if the son wants to take a part of his kingdom, you might be in part of his kingdom and your parents in the part of the kingdom of the father. So you're going to be totally different. So it's awkward and impossible. So when you think of it, how is not common sense for a world to exist with two gods, even though there can be father and son, it cannot. And a God that he's a son, he has a son, he is in a state of need. He needs help. He needs someone to help him. And the one who needed to be helped, he sees to be God. Because when you ask him for help, you cannot ask someone for help when he himself needs help. And if he's powerful but still need help, you will not have that full satisfaction in your heart. And trust, full trust, why? Because you know that your God, he might be busy with his son. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قال الحمد, say alhamdulillah that Allah doesn't have a son. And that وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ شَرِيكٌ فِي الْمُلْكِ, and he doesn't have any partner to share with him his kingdom. Because a God, is going to be, let's say, both God as merciful. You're going to end by a fight to be who's the most merciful, right? So race for the most merciful. He's going to kill everyone. Why? Because if you ask for rain, for just proportion, more water, everybody will be flood, right? Flooded, everybody will die, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make for the people of Noah. But also when they fight or they racing, the race is going to turn against the whole creation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala قال إِذَنْ لَذَهَبَ كُلُّ إِلَهٍ بِمَا خَلَقَ. Every creator is going to go with his own creation. وَلَعَلَى بَعْضُهُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ, and everyone trying to be higher than the other one. So he's going to have the biggest, a war or battle that no one can imagine its dimension. So when he thinks about that, he say Allah subhanahu, say alhamdulillah that Allah is one. وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ وَلِيٌّ مِّنَ الذُّلِّ وَكَبِّرْهُ تَكْبِيرًا, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't have any helper to save him from this race. Or someone that Allah need to counsel with, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala need to go back. So, for example, imagine if you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for something, and that God he needs a permission to give it to you. That's waliyu min ad-dull. Someone he's like forcing him to just, before do things, you have to talk to me first. So say, wallahi, will be the, a catastrophe if such a thing happen. So that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say alhamdulillah. Those are elements of understanding for our, the meaning of the Tawheed and the meaning of the shirk. The next ayah, we mentioned part of it, but we'll read it bi'idhnillah. We read it from here. قُلْ لِمَنِ الْأَرْضُ وَمَنْ فِيهَا إِن كُنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. That's the ayah that we're talking about. Huh? Surah Al-Naml, what ayah?
Surah Al-Mu'minun, ayah 70.
70.
Allahu Akbar.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Surah 23. Here, the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calling to his oneness in a very common and logical way. قل من رب السماء قل لمن الأرض ومن فيها إن كنتم تعلمون. Say to whom belong the earth and all the beings therein, if you know. They will say to God, to Allah. Say, yet will you not receive admonition? Now, this is also to teach or learn how to make the steps for ourselves and if we want to help others. This is a fact of reality, and this is what we're going to go to the next chapter when we're going to talk about the oneness of Lordship, the oneness of deity. All these ayat we're going to come back. So we want to understand them first from the Quran. Look how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is inviting the humankind in a very common sense to believe in Him. So Allah is like an argument. Ask them, say, to whom belong the earth and the all being? They're going to say, oh, this is belong to God. Say, قَالَ إِذَنْ أَفَلَا تَذَكَّرُونَ. Don't you be reminded? قال, then the next ayah, say, who is the Lord of the seventh heaven and the Lord of the throne, glory supreme. They will say to Allah, say, will you not then keep duty unto Him? أَفَلَا تَتَّقُونَ. The other said, will you not then guard yourself against evil? Say, who is, it is whose hands in the governance of all things, who protects all that is not protected of any. If you know, they're going to say to Allah, then how are you deluded? It comes to a point, after all this evidence, how can you be astray? So, if the intellect and the eyes and the hearing that Allah bestow on you as a gift, for you as a channel of knowledge, and your intellect as tool of reflection and pondering, and this very simple thing, you come and you still deny your God. Now listen, we have sent them the truth, but they indeed practice falsehood. Nay, we have brought to them the truth, and most assuredly they are liars. Now, this is a very statement that it gives you a very simple way to an evidence of the oneness of Allah, in a very common sense. You see, we say Alhamdulillah for Allah. Never did Allah take to Himself a son, and never was there with Him any other God. In that case, would each God have certainly taken away what He created? Very simple. It's very logical. There's no two presidents in one country, not two captains in one boat. There's no two gods in the creation. It's very simple. This is very logical. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, in that case, so this is Quran, in that case, would each God have certainly taken away what He created? And some of them would certainly have overpowered others. Glory be to Allah above what they describe. So if the universe still functions in this very accurate and precise way, so there's only one God. Because if there's more than one, you're already been corrupted, or the world been ended a long time ago. The knower of the unseen and the seen, so may He be exalted, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a son. Look at the creation, how they react. This is. Now, the Quran is giving us the way how to think of things and how big they are. Because sometimes we do not know what type of proportion of feeling we need to have or to associate with something. For example, say someone, did you see what happened? Say, well, someone, subhanAllah, he didn't stop at the red light. So the way you react, say, A'udhu Billah, he didn't stop. This is the biggest love. The way your face turn pale and almost you're going to faint, you say, no, it's not big thing. Okay? If you're going to get cut, you're going to get a ticket. And someone will ask you, for example, can say, I just saw someone being killed. Oh, really? Sit, have a coffee. So that's all the reaction, you needed to have it now. If you understand. Why? Because killing is going to go like a big punishment. It might be like execution of death, penalty of death. The other one is a ticket. So when here in the Quran, He's defined for us those proportion of feeling. When He say God has a son, Allah He give you the dimension how big is this big shirk, how big is this injustice. We showed how the injustice is. Now Allah describing for us what type of proportion we need to have in ourselves to protect ourselves to not fall into deviation. Because if someone, for example, he's speeding and he realized that he cannot brake in the end, he will not care. He say, if a cop will get me, it's gonna be a ticket anyway, not problem. But he will not neglect himself if he's going to be facing a killing of a soul. He will not do it. In Islam, for example, someone, he's forced. They given him, for example, and this is in fiqh, they said they're pointing a gun in his head. They're telling him, if you don't kill this guy, we're going to kill you. In Islam, is it prohibited for him to kill another person to save his life? They say, that life, your life is not more valuable and precious than the other life. If they kill you, Allah will take care of you. Allah will take your rights. But you don't have any right in any circumstances to kill. Not like a driving, you see it like yellow, that's fine. And you look, there's no car, alhamdulillah. Nobody's. But when it comes here, no. And this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching us. So, what is the meaning of someone saying God has a son? وقالوا اتخذ الله ولدا وقالوا اتخذ الله ولدا. I want to is in Surah Maryam. We have it in another place. Ayah 88, and they say the most merciful has begotten a son. لَقَدْ جِئْتُمْ شَيْئًا إِدَّا. Certainly you have put forth a thing most monstrous. This thing that you're saying, تكاد السماوات يتفطرن منه وتنشق الأرض وتخر الجبال هدا. If the skies are ready to burst, the earth to split, and the mountain to fall down, because of the word that they said. The heaven may almost be rent thread, and the earth cleave, and the mountain fall down in pieces. Now, takadu, almost. So why didn't it happen? Why the heaven didn't burst? Why the earth didn't split? And why the whole mountain didn't crumble into pieces? The answer is simple. The heaven, the mountain, the earth, they follow a course. They are subjected. They do not have the choice. They do not have free will. If they had, that's what would have happened. So it's like, oh Allah, give us the permission to act. No. You were created to serve now, not to act. Because when he's going to act, I'll give you the ayah when he's going to act. All of you memorize this ayah. When he's going to act, this is what is going to happen. When the earth is shaken to her utmost shaking. This is when the earth will take the command. Now, So the only earthquake that is gonna be done by the earth. It's going to be the earthquake. إذا زلزلت الأرض زلزالها, its own earthquake. تكاد السماوات يتفطرن منه وتنشق الأرض. It's going to split. It's holding. At the end of the mission of the humankind, that's it. It's not because it's serving for the mission to be fulfilled. Now its mission comes to the end term. It's going to have its earthquake. And the earth throws up her burdens. That's now is like accountable. Allah is going to go to the earth. The accountability of the earth to be servant of Allah. And the insan, and the man says, what has befallen her? Why? Because he used to work on the earth, believing that he's in control of the earth. But when the earth gets his free will and liberated from the service of being created for, وقال الإنسان ما لها تحدث أخبار. What happened to the earth? He said, no, يومئذ تحدث, on the day she should tell her news. Everyone that he was arrogant, he says so and so he did this, and he was working this way, and he killed this, and he did this, oh, everything. Even your body parts, they do not belong to you. They belong to Allah. But now they're serving you because of the mission. When the mission ends, they go back to the service of Allah. I'll give you an ayah to see it. And then we go pray. Inshallah, this ayah will give us more khushu', inshallah. Look, in Surah Fussilat, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. On the day that the enemies of Allah will be gathered together to the fire, ayah 19, then they should be formed into groups, until when they come to it, their ears and their eyes and their skins shall bear witness against them as to what they did. Look what they said. And they shall say to their skin, why have you borne witness against us? I mean, you are us. Allah would make everything. They said, Allah who makes everything speak has made us speak. And He created you at first, and to Him you should be brought back. So imagine his own skin will be skin. Say, why do you do this for me? Say, that don't belong to you, I belong to Allah. I've been serving you by the permission of Allah, not because of your power for the hand to serve you. SubhanAllah. In the end, we don't have anything. We don't have anything. طيب inshallah. We stop. We'll meet you after Salah inshallah.